All right, so we're diving deep today into this mountain fire situation, Ventura County. We're going to go beyond the headlines here, use some live reports from ABC7, and really get an understanding of how this disaster is unfolding, as it's happening.
Yeah, it's a real, a sobering look at just how powerful nature can be, how important it is to be prepared.
For sure. So let's start, I guess, with some of the basics here. From this November 7th, 3:13 p.m. update, we know that this fire ignited earlier today. It's exploded already to over 14,000 acres. It's even jumped Highway 118, and it's threatening the 101 corridor.
Yeah, it's just, what's so striking is that just the speed and intensity of this fire. You go from a 250-acre, relatively small two-alarm fire to a raging inferno just a few hours.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of that is driven by those Santa Ana winds we always hear about.
Oh, absolutely. You combine those winds with the bone-dry conditions,
Yeah.
the challenging terrain. It's a recipe for a fire to spread really, really quickly.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're seeing that impact. Thousands of people have been forced to flee their homes. And just looking at the key headlines section from ABC7, you really get a sense of the human impact of the devastation.
Yeah, the story that really gets me is this Camarillo man. He lost his home after almost 40 years. That's got to be rough.
Oh, it's just heartbreaking. Think of all the memories, the sense of security just wiped away in hours. And then there's this young couple. They lost their home just a year after they moved in.
Yeah, it just makes you realize these are just numbers. These are people's lives,
And then to add to that, this 4 p.m. briefing, 0% containment. They couldn't even assess the damage because the conditions were so dangerous.
Yeah, and that's, when they talk about containment, they're talking about establishing a perimeter where firefighters can actually control the spread. So 0% containment, combined with the fact that this fire is jumping highways. That tells you just how volatile and dangerous the situation is.
Right, and speaking of dangerous, the evacuation orders really highlight the urgency here. We're talking zones 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, and 10, plus unincorporated SOMEs, all under mandatory evacuation.
And even if you're not under mandatory evacuation, like Zone 8 is under an evacuation warning, you got to be ready to go.
Yeah.
You really need to have a plan. Be ready to move at a moment's notice because that could save your life.
Absolutely. And you think about the ripple effects of all of this. Road closures on Lewis Road, Highway 118. That disrupts everything from people's commutes to emergency response efforts.
It's just a cascade of challenges.
Yeah.
You have road closures, you have potential power outages, and then you have these school closures in Santa Paula Unified, Mesa Union, ACE Charter High, Briggs, Frenemy Elementary, Oxnard school districts. All these closures create a massive disruption.
It's got to be. Just imagine the stress, trying to juggle work, childcare, the threat of the fire all at once.
Oh, absolutely. And the financial burden as well. People losing wages.
Yeah.
The cost of evacuation, potential cost of rebuilding. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it really is. ABC7 reported 83 homes destroyed in Camarillo Heights alone. And one of they had this image, and it said, almost all homes along Santa Cruz were destroyed by the flames. It's just seared in my mind.
The long-term effects of all this destruction are going to be huge. Homes, businesses, community landmarks. The rebuilding process is going to be so long and difficult. And for some people, they may never fully recover from this. Right.
And the 1 p.m. update is where we got that detail about the 83 homes destroyed. Yeah. And it's just hard not to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, the scale it's staggering.
But even with all this devastation, we're also seeing incredible acts of courage from firefighters and the generosity of people coming together to help their neighbors.
Yeah, that's what gives me hope. Even in these dark times, people always find a way to help each other.
Like the temporary evacuation shelter at Padre Serra Parish,
yeah,
or the large animal evacuation center at the Ventura County Fairgrounds, and the small animal shelter at Ventura County Animal Services. It's just inspiring to see people step up like that.
It's a testament to the strength of the community.
Yeah.
And that support is going to be so important in the weeks and months to come.
Speaking of support, let's talk about that 3:13 a.m. update.
So that 3:13 a.m. update, it had some news about FEMA funds being granted to help with the fire response. This is big.
Yeah, that's got to be huge for the folks on the ground. Can you maybe explain what that actually means for them?
Yeah, so federal aid like this, it can be a lifeline in these situations. There's more resources for fighting the fire, for recovery operations, direct support for people who've been displaced, who have lost everything. It means the government is recognizing how serious this is, and they're stepping in to help.
That's got to be such a relief for the firefighters battling this thing and for the people whose lives have been turned upside down. We were talking earlier about the emotional toll of all this, and one story that really hit me hard was Steve Taylor, the man who lost his home of almost 40 years.
Oh, yeah, that one got to me, too. 40 years in a home. I mean, just think of all the memories, the feeling of belonging that comes with that. It really highlights the emotional weight of this whole thing.
Yeah, it's not just a structure, it's a lifetime of memories, a sense of security, all the little things that make a house a home.
Exactly. And for Steve, I mean, the road to recovery, it's going to be long and hard, dealing with insurance claims, rebuilding everything, trying to get back to some kind of normalcy.
It makes you think about the mental health aspect of it all, too. The trauma, the grief, the anxiety, facing something like this.
You know, that's something we often overlook, the psychological impact of these disasters.
Right.
But it's so important. The community needs to be ready to offer long-term support, not just with rebuilding homes, but with addressing the emotional needs of everyone affected.
It's a good reminder that the effects of this fire, they're going to be felt long after the flames are out.
Yeah, and it highlights the need for a holistic approach to recovery. You have to consider the physical damage, of course, but also the emotional and psychological well-being of the community.
So while we're seeing these amazing acts of courage from the firefighters and the incredible generosity of people helping each other, we also have to remember that this is far from over.
Right. And it raises a question for all of us. What can we learn from this, both in terms of preparing ourselves and how we respond as a community to these kinds of disasters?
Yeah, that's a question we all need to think about. I mean, as we're watching this disaster unfold, it's a stark reminder that these wildfires, they can happen anywhere, and we all need to be prepared.
Being prepared, that's key. And it's more than just having a go bag ready, you know? It's about knowing your evacuation zone, having a plan with your family for communication, understanding the risks specific to your area.
Yeah, I think so many people think, oh, that'll never happen to me. But this fire, this is a real wake-up call.
It is. But, you know, on a community level,
Yeah.
it's been amazing to see how people are coming together to support those who have lost everything. The donations, the volunteers, every little bit helps.
Yeah, it's inspiring. It shows you just how resilient people can be.
It really does. What's important now is that this spirit of support, it continues even after the fire is out.
Yeah.
Because the recovery process is going to take a long time.
Right.
And people are going to need help
Yeah.
to rebuild their lives.
So for anyone listening, if you're looking for a way to help, even a small act of kindness can make a difference.
Absolutely. And as we learn more about this fire,
Yeah.
about what caused it and the consequences, let's use that knowledge
Yeah.
to push for better wildfire prevention strategies and to build communities that are more resilient.
Well, this deep dive into the mountain fire, it's been a tough one. It's a reminder of how powerful nature can be and how important it is to be prepared and to support each other when these disasters happen.
Yeah, it's also a reminder that even in the face of tragedy, people can come together and show incredible strength and resilience.
That's right. Everyone, please stay safe, stay informed, and think about how you can be part of the solution as Ventura County starts the long road to recovery. Thank you for joining us,